Another Day is a piece I made in 2003, and it consists of 3 monitors that are usually put up high and slightly angled down. So they remind you of something you'll see at the airport or at the train station. It's a list of cities and times, and it's animated, so the time is a countdown for each city, and it just tells you when the sun is going to rise on those cities you see on the screen. And when the sun rises, right, when the countdown reaches 0, the name kind of freezes for a moment and then it disappears, and just like at a train station or airport, all the names go up like one, and then a new name appears. The piece has a really long incubation period. I was always interested in invention originally in my work. I was interested in how what was left over, the plans for the invention, could be used as a score that then I could use to make a sculpture. And that led me to think about another kind of invention, discovery. So I thought, oh, you can read journals of discovery, and those can also be used as a score. And I started reading the journals of Columbus on his trips to the Americas, Lewis and Clark on their westward movement from the East Coast to the West. And I started to think about moving west as a kind of journey that immortalizes the person who takes that journey. But at the same time, even while I was doing all this research, I started to think I want to make work that doesn't have these really long anecdotes and backstories. I said, well, I'm going to put that aside and I'm just going to go west. I already had made a piece a few years before called A Longer Day. I had woken up at dawn and moved in my car and gone west as far as I could in one day, and then I recorded the sunset. I was in the car, it was an east-west highway in the Midwest, straight, like a kid's drawing, right? Like a receding point of the highway, the sun setting on the receding point, I'm speeding, and the sun sets, and that's it. It's a day that's a little bit longer than if I'd stood still. On the way back, I thought, there's so many pieces about the sunset in Western art, but there aren't that many pieces about the sunrise, and why is that? So I thought, I'm going to make a piece about the sunrise. But there are 3 kinds of definitions of sunrise, so I chose the algorithm that tells you when the sun crosses the horizon. So the programming was fairly easy in that it's in the public domain, which was perfect for me. You just find the mathematical procedure to calculate this. And the rest of the programming really was just to take that data and turn it into a video signal. That's all it does. It keeps track of the 90 cities and when the sun is going to rise. So it changes daily, right? Like as the seasons change, there's a few cities that are so far north that they actually disappear during periods of the year because the sun doesn't set or rise. And even their order changes slightly depending on if it's winter or summer, depending on what hemisphere they are. The thing that took a really long time was choosing the 90 cities. So then I set up some really strict parameters. I said I will start with Greenwich, which is meridian 0, and I will look at cities on every 4th meridian. So then later I took a giant atlas and I looked at meridian 4, and I went down meridian 4 and I made a list of cities that were on the 4th meridian. Then I went and I found cities on the 8th meridian and the 12th meridian and the 16th meridian and so forth until I had the 90 cities. So by only looking at meridians, it's like looking at the map without a north and a south. It just kind of squishes the map, and you just have all these things are along these lines. Because once you eliminate north and south, you can imagine that here's Russia and it extends all the way to Asia, and underneath it is like parts of Europe, the Middle East, Central Asia, and even parts of Australia. You can start to take an English-sounding name and put it next to a French-sounding name, next to a Slavic name, next to an African name, next to an Asian name. So I just tried to make a list where both colonial and nationalistic history would be represented. Another Day has a city from Honduras in it, and that's completely an emotional, autobiographical element, but that's not what's forefronted in the work. And I'm really interested in sort of what's held in common